Washington, D.C. Welcome, Ron Cooper. The Cooper Culture is on the air once again. Welcome.
Ed, thank you again. It's always great to be with you. And as I am looking at the globe in the background, my thoughts go immediately to Artemis 2, who will be returning tomorrow evening as we are recording this, not far from you. And you might even be able to see the splashdown, I'm wondering. But Artemis 2, a historic moon trip, four astronauts who traveled the furthest from Earth than anyone has in any time in the past. But what a great team effort! And a lot of that is what is central to our conversations, Ed.
Yeah, and this is really good. I'm really honored to have you, Ron Cooper, on this program so many times now, and hope it continues longer. I was reviewing that long list of proposed topics they sent me several months ago. We got a long way to go, so we'll talk about all that.
No,
Um,
that's all good. Yes, a lot of good things we can talk about that have direct application to people, businesses, productivity, and people's worth. That's largely what these topics are about.
yeah, and I need to say, being here in San Diego, the headquarters of the U.S. Pacific Fleet, um, along with Guam and Honolulu, of course, but um, there's so much to be proud of with the way the military has orchestrated the recent operations in the Middle East. And so much went into it. I was watching the report by the Air Force General Kane in such detail yesterday about all the different commands and all the different organizations and the people and the apparent beautiful training, so thorough with timing and delivery and challenges galore, and just so impressed. But this is the world you have been in. And how do you reconcile? Audience, this is not rehearsed. Ron, how do you recognize the vagaries and the situations in today's business world, even in tightly run companies, where the training and the execution and the cohesion is so different from what is required in the military, from your view, Ron?
Yes, and Ed, in some cases, um, we who have served in the military know what it is to work as a proficient, unified, cohesive team. And very recently, the operations ongoing, and whether you support that or not, I'm not here to make a political statement. We are not. But if we can believe in the military, the National Command Authority has made a decision. And with that decision, the military executes, and it's through teamwork. Yesterday, I believe it was General Kane, and his call sign is Raisin Kane. Went through whimsically. Yep, we went through however many gallons of coffee. We spent X number of hours together, but this is all indicative, Ed, of the cooperation, the coordination, the collaboration of teamwork. There are multiple commands, multiple type aircraft, multiple targets. We are involving multiple agencies. Oh my gosh, this is a team of thousands of people. We cannot afford to have any mis-execution. We must have good communication. And once a decision is made by the higher authorities, we need to execute. I'm going to make a statement that there are some who are trying to dissuade military people from participating by saying you are not obligated to execute unlawful commands. I don't want to, again, make a political statement, but I know there are some people who are trying to be disruptive to the teamwork that is in place. And Ed, one of the hallmarks of military organization, and I do believe that law enforcement and firefighting communities share this type teamwork. But one of the hallmarks is we work well together as a team, and we will do whatever we have to do to ensure we will do everything humanly possible to think into to make certain everyone returns. Thus, the mantra, the credo, no person left behind. And Ed, that's not just a blanket, hollow statement. That is, we're not going to leave anyone behind, and we'll do anything we have to carry a comrade on our shoulders if necessary to try to bring them to safety. But that's all about teamwork. And Ed, I could go on for a long time about that, but that is a matter of cohesion, total engagement. And then I would, to your listeners who are in the corporate world, I would ask you to think into your staff, your organization. Do you have that type of harmony, cohesion, teamwork together? I would hope you do. But if you don't, let's discuss how we can create that teamwork in your organization. Ed, I've gone on along somewhat of a diatribe, but that is teamwork, working together in critical thinking ahead. We've thought through everything. That is a lot that defines the United States military.
Well, I recognize what you're doing. Thank you. And I recognize that this conversation is not going to divulge any secrets or operations, nothing like that. But there's a lot of work to do to make a ceasefire work. And there's so much, it appears to me, I'm a media guy, it appears to me that there is absolutely a concerted effort from the other side, plural, to disrupt the communication of what the military just completed and what they're doing right now. They're not going away, right? They are there. And that means managing the situation, managing the ceasefire, and keeping control over vulnerabilities without walking away, turning their back. I'm not a military guy anymore. I was a medic, an operating room hospital situation. That was my field of battle, if you will.
Well, but I'm going to say, Ed, that you do have the military discipline, and I would certainly never attempt to marginalize medical versus operational in the cockpit. No, we're all together as a functioning team. But as you mentioned ceasefire, right now, my mind goes to Korea, North and South Korea. We have an armistice. We have two divided nations. We have a demilitarized zone, and we have an armistice in place. Ceasefire to me means, yep, for the moment, we'll cease fire, we will not. But then what could evoke, well, we're going to retreat from that ceasefire. President Trump, and I obviously have not been in the war planning room with him, but every indication I have, he is saying, and I totally support it, no, I don't want a ceasefire. I want a surrender. Now, I know to a nation that hates the United States, they may be thinking, we'll never surrender to you. But from my perspective, Ed, and I know not everyone agrees with what I'm about to say, with the hate that emanates from Iran and other similar terrorist organizations, they could at any time launch attacks on us, our allies. we enjoy the freedom right here in the United States. No, we don't see ballistic missiles, and we're not walking amongst rubble of down buildings and so forth. We live in relative peace and harmony. But if anyone were to launch a missile against us, and I know what the different threats have been to your San Diego area, to just be vigilant of, but Ed, we don't want to live on the edge of and being vigilant, wondering if a missile or some sort of attack is going to be happening. We want to live in peace and harmony. And so I am an advocate of we must do whatever we need to do to reach a strategic objective to have the assurance those nations, those people who are talking against us will not have the capability to launch attacks against us. And I do believe that involves, in the case of Iran, removing all possibility of developing a nuclear weapon. And even if it's not nuclear, any capability to develop missiles that can reach anywhere in the United States or any of our possessions, we are going to provide that assurance that we are providing safety to other nations. That's who I am in the resolve of our U.S. military, our training. Once we are given the authority by our civilian administration, we will do the planning. We will accomplish in the very same way as we recovered very recently on Easter Sunday, the downed crew member. We will return. And that is a virtual promise and a resolve we in the military have. Ed, I am speaking with a very confident resolve, but I would hope your listeners know that that's all a matter of teamwork. And that is what total cooperation results in.
Thank you for that. Let's turn your energy and time to a business topic of your choice today. Would you like to get into that?
Yes, let's do that, Ed. And what I recommended we talked about is skill gaps and reskilling challenges. And it has a lot to do with one of the topic we were just talking about. But in the context of rapid technological advances, have those technology advances outpaced our ability within the organization to train and upskill our employees? And it's possible, yes. And so one of the topics very in the forefront of everything is everybody's mind right now is artificial intelligence. But along with that is quantum computing. I know what the two words are, quantum computing, but exactly what it is, I don't know. But as leaders in our organization, if we're going to keep pace with technology and continue our business to meet people's needs and even forecast what those needs are, possibly before a prospective client even forecasts their need, we need to be technologically superior in what we do. We are aware of technology advances, but are we training our employees to know how to harness those technologies and learn from them? Ed, you and I are of the age that we were invented. I use that term long before the internet and so forth. And so I am a believer in reverse mentoring. The millennials, the 20 and 30-year-olds right now are more adept, more skilled. Our grandchildren, if I don't know how to operate my cell phone, I'll ask my granddaughter, oh, how do I do this? And I'll get an immediate response. Papa, what's wrong with you? That is your brain not working? Here's how you do that. And I thought, wow. And so, but Ed, those are the kind of things as I'm being somewhat facetious, but yet we need to keep pace with technology advances. Now, I may not ever know as much as my grandchild and other people will about technology, but through trust, if I say, I tell you what, let's go forward. Now, this is my decision as the senior decision maker within a company. let's go forward and learn about that technology, because as we learn to harness that, that will make us more capable to meet other people's needs. But I need to be savvy enough that I know about those technologies, and I need to equip my people to learn how to learn those technologies. And so I can't expect people to go home and learn it, but I need to make time. So, Ed, it's a matter of culture. How do we incorporate emerging technologies into our company? Are we making a conscious choice to do that? Because if we do not, other companies will surpass us. That's one thing. But those within our sphere of influence are going to have lower productivity, and they're going to have increased reliance on hires, and very possibly the proverbial artificial intelligence will replace people. And so we need to be engaged. That's I think if I were to narrow it down to one word, we must be engaged.
So let's talk about training. Uh, what I'm hearing is uh, the workplace as a ongoing university environment whereby somebody has the skills, even if they're 26 years old, they've got skills that me at 80.9 as of this moment, that I don't have, and I'm going to learn them. Uh, so kids, contact me, editor, Global Business News at gmail.com. If you want to come on this program and have some teaching time and tell the world about what to do and how to think about AI and how to apply it to practical workplace situations. Ron, could you say that better in better terms to fit your needs?
I'm not sure I could, Ed, but I mean, this is your program. And so you make the determination, the direction you want to go. You are that person. And so you make the choice. Do we want to potentially have people who are adept in quantum computing, artificial intelligence? Do we want to have those people come on and educate your people about, and what are the uses of? And certainly that's your choice. But similarly, within a company, within a family, if the decision is made that yes, we want to learn about this, okay, there are, let's just say, nominally 8, 10 hours in the workday. How are we going to fit this in to learn? And so, as a leader, what I tell this person, I tell you what, we need to work whatever projects we're working, but we also need to learn about, and might we adjust the time schedule, the priorities of our various workforce. That, okay, if let's just pick a name, John and Jill, if you two are particularly skilled at, and you have a driving desire to learn more of and teach the rest of us, man, go for it. And it has a lot to do with skill sets and what is meaningful in a person's life. And so, as we as leaders know our people well enough, and we have defined our strategic objectives within the company, we know our people well enough to know that, let's just pick two names, Ed and Ron. You have indicated you want to, well, I want to make certain I equip you, I empower you to do what you want to do, because I know that you will bring this about. And so now it's a matter of you authorizing, equipping the rest of us to take on that task. And yep, we will. And so it's a that to me is a matter of teamwork. The senior leaders know our talents, what is meaningful to us, and you have the confidence that yep, you'll bring it about. And so I know our company will move forward with the talent we have right here. And so, Ed, again, teamwork. That's how we work together.
You have had years of dedication and training to being an executive coach. quote unquote, executive
Yes.
coach, whatever that
Hmm.
means, that needs dealing from an executive's point of view, what needs to be done or should be done, and then how to do it. But you have to have people willing or knowledgeable enough that they need help and to let it be, let it happen. And as a company leader, you are brought in to be the fractional leader at that moment as a doer, as a coach. How do you get the organization to change? How do you get these people to want to or learn how to be a coach without offending the student? I don't know what I'm saying anymore, but
No,
that's the
no,
idea.
no, Ed, I know exactly what you're saying. That change. Oh yeah, some people just say, "Man, I need a steady routine," and it's not a matter of that people don't are adverse to change. They are adverse to being changed. I don't want to change my routine. And so, if you are steadfast in saying, "No, I will not change. I will not do whatever this other person wants me to do," your values may not be aligned with the company objective and what the longer term outlook of the company is. And you may not be in the right place. That's one thing. But that's one thing we need to determine. And then do we have people on board who are saying, yes, I am all in, to use that term. I am totally engaged, but yet I'm confused about the direction we're going, why we're going there, how we're going to get there. All those things need to come together. The why, it's important to understand why we're going to the direction we're going. Once that is explained, then it's a matter of, okay, how will we get there? There are tactical, which from my view are near term objectives, and then there's strategic, the longer term objectives. And I'm not trying to be so overly philosophical about this or structured, but yet, once the person says, now I get it. Now I understand why. Yes, I understand how this new technology can fit in, and I want to learn how to do this because I get meaning and fulfillment from learning how this technology can fit in how all of this is going to work. That's all apart from my perspective, Ed, of being all in as a team. Now, if the employees in the company are not functioning well as a team, I can help companies determine why that is. It could be, hey, we just don't trust each other. We don't communicate well with each other. There could be relational challenges. It could be any number of those kinds of things, but we need to identify that. And then you can't force someone to change if they don't want to. But if the environment is right, that here's how we can bring about change to get from where you are to where you want to be, then it's a matter of strategically setting out that path for a company. And I would ask that person, if you don't change, where would you see yourself maybe 1, 2 years from now? And that person may say, if we don't change, we maybe would no longer exist as a company. And so I'm not trying to put any fear in anybody, but do you have a need to change? And then does the change that we're recommending seem to fit well? Can you buy into that change? Those are just some of the methods, Ed, that for some people, change is a very difficult word to handle.
So we're talking about the convergence, big word, coming together of a situation to be clarified and communicated to the team with the understanding of we're confronted, we have challenges, we need to make changes to be better self-equipped, to be resilient, while at the same time striving to change ourselves and doing business better, using technology, using whatever, quantum computing. Uh, so It's talking about being you as a leader, um, orchestrating a story, telling a story to the troops, to the employees about what's required now in order to survive the current challenges, the transition. So my background, going back a long, long time ago, was in, uh, well, I was just a kid in the 20s, working in a company that was basically a real estate company, a very large, rich real estate company, and they own a lot of buildings in different cities. And inside the buildings were restaurants, doctor's offices, bowling alley, and movie theaters of different kinds. And so, how do you communicate to the community in which these buildings existed that it was a safe place to go, that it would be enjoyable, and that the stories that they're going to watch on the movie screen are not going to be awful. They're going to be good. They're going to be hopeful. They're going to be beautiful. They're going to be instructive in some way. Just think of Sound of Music versus Top Gun, or the War of the Worlds versus Love Story. All the different diversity. It's a way of orchestrating change and getting the messages out. So my background was not in doing that. That's way creative, and I'm not that. My role at that time specifically was to understand what the screenwriter is supposed to convey to the audience, whether it's teenagers, the audience, or whether it's old people or whatever. And if so, I was trained to look at certain things on the screen. Is the story getting through? Will the kids or the people in the audience dump on this program because it doesn't do a job, or they didn't understand why they did that rather than do this in that situation? It's the same kind of thing now. How do you take today's companies that have 4 or 5 generations in under the roof, in office
It,
or remote? How do you coordinate all this? How do you make all this happen? That's
two
the
word, yeah,
orchestration.
two words come to mind: messaging and branding. In this context, they seem to be the same. In the context of a movie, that the trailer may be 2 minutes, and minute and a half, 2.5, whatever it may be, but through that, you should be able to form a mental image. I know what this movie is about, and the what is being portrayed in 2.5 minutes. Just use that time frame. Do I want to spend 2.5 hours based on what I saw in 2.5 minutes? Is it worth my time? And so that's one thing. But then the other part is what is the overall messaging? I will tell you that in the context of movies, Marty and I like real stories and true life stories. And what is the moral of this? That people have overcome whatever, and yes, there's a longer term moral to of whatever it is that comes out of this. That is one thing. And then as it relates to a company has a branding statement, and that may be written, it may not be, but the company might say, hey, we're here for a community outreach. We want to benefit our local community. And a part of that might be through the capital that you have set aside, that your primary mission is, let's just pick a topic, it's information technology. But yet, the branding statement is we want to reach out to our local high schools to benefit high school students. And that we want to have as our branding statement. But Ed, I think that's all a part of the messaging, the branding, that people understand, yes, that's what we are about. That's who we are. And for those who share our values, come on board and be a part of us. That is who we are, and that's who we represent.
The CooperCulture.com. So what within that banner, the CooperCulture.com, is a step one, step two kind of thing? Just to communicate to the audience out there watching this.
And I would ask a leader that how is everything going in your company? And I'm asking about communication. Do you feel you communicate well? Do you feel you function well as a team? Are people willing to share information with each other freely, openly? Are your leaders surrounded by people who complement them and such that as a team, do you feel you are a fully functioning team? I want to ask open-ended questions of the person to help them determine just where they are, assess where they are with the company. But I have to first develop trust, Ed, that in the person answering these questions will know that if they were to divulge anything that, well, we could get better at, I'm not going to use that against them, but I want to help them assess where they are. And through that, I wanted to have the rapport with them that I develop the confidence that, yes, I understand exactly where they are and where they want to be. So step one is determining where they are and what they feel they can do better. I'm not there to tell them what problems they have. I want to do what I can to help the senior leader articulate their problem. And I'll ask them open-ended questions to where they feel comfortable. Well, this is where I think we are. Now, I do know that in many organizations, there are what I call silent inhibitors that are keeping the various people from performing at their maximum potential because of various things that are happening. They're not imminently visible. It's just the underlying tone of the company. So the step two would be to identify what those factors are. And I have a proprietary method where we can do just that. And then the third step would be, well, how do we get from wherever the culture is now to where you want to be? How do we make right those things that may not be functioning as well as they could? And I would devise a plan to do just that, and then make a proposal based on those factors that I learned from them. But Ed, everything we do is a customized approach to helping a company develop the consummate teamwork that they want.
Now, sorry, my headphones are falling out of my ears here. There's so much going on that they're pushing out.
Mhm.
So, how do you teach that? I mean, how do you convey that? How do you teach? So you're a coach now, and that's your job. You're coaching someone else on what to do to solve a problem. Um, your military background comes into play of how to
Mhm.
organize a team. What division of labor, coordination. Is that correct?
Well, that's all a part of it. And Ed, people make decisions emotionally, and they will justify the decision logically. That's the way we're wired. That's the way most people are wired. And so the emotional part of that is, can I adapt to, can I adjust to the person with whom I'm speaking? And it has everything to do with trust. And I need to develop a rapport with the person with whom I'm speaking. And that occurs over a period of time. It may take 7, 10, whatever number of touches, so to speak, but it is developing a very solid rapport. And included in that rapport is trust. Can I, the senior leader with whom I'm speaking, can I afford to divulge things about myself, my company? And it's very possible, and I've had conversations this way, that the leadership problem is the person with whom I'm speaking. Now, if I tell them right up front, you're the problem, well, and before I develop a rapport, then it's very almost certainly I'm going to break rapport and I'm not going to be able to make a headway with that person. But through a relationship and through relational conversation, I can frequently help that person determine, and they would be the ones articulated, Ron, as we're progressing this conversation, maybe I'm the problem here. Maybe I need to do whatever it may be. And I am not going to come right out and say, yes, I agree, you are the problem. But we talk about that a little bit more. And if that person becomes persuaded, no, I need to change the way I do things, then I'll work with that person. Here's where the coaching comes in, one on one. That, well, if you think you are the problem, then what do we think the source of that problem is? Now it's a matter of peeling back the onion that very possibly, Ed, some people do what they do because of PTSD, post traumatic stress of whatever could be in the past. And frequently it's something of the past, but we need to just continue to peel the onion back. I use that term until we're reaching the whatever the core problem is. But that is one of the silent inhibitors that a person responds, reacts the way they do emotionally because of something in the past. And that person doesn't know that whatever was said or done triggers something of the past, and they respond emotionally. And people say, well, if that's the way my leader is going to react, I've got to be very careful around him or her that I may trigger another emotion. And by golly, I don't know if my job is secure here or not. That is a lot of what happens within companies in the context of silent inhibitors.
Ron, it's a delight to hear you speak and pull things together and explain. And audience, thecooperculture.com. Go there and check it out and reach out to Ron. Thanks for being on the show.
Ed, thank you very much for the opportunity to work with your audience, and it's always good to be with you.
Thank you. All
Thanks.
right.
Have a good day.
We want your feedback out there. Reach me, please. Email editor, global business news @gmail.com. Your feedback is really important. We learn by it and respond. Thank you.